Hello, I am Sourabh Verma. Many of the India's super rich are leaving the country. They are moving their wealth out of India to other offshore destinations. We'll be discussing about the top 7 reasons which are behind this phenomena. As per the Global Wealth Migration Report, in 2020, more than 5,000 India's millionaires, or about 2% of the India's high net worth value individuals, left the country. Then in 2019, more than 7,000 of the high net worth value individuals left the country. And it is expected that about 30,000 to 35,000 high net worth value Indians will leave the country in the next 4 to 5 years. Migration from India is seeing a rise in 143% since 1990. What are the reasons behind this phenomena? Why we are migrating so much? Many believe that migration is not a new thing for India. It has been happening since after India's independence. Experts are of the opinion that what we are seeing today is the third wave of migration from India. In the first wave of migration, farmers from Punjab migrated to European countries like UK, Netherlands, Germany, and also United States of America. In the second wave of migration, professionals from India migrated to US and UK for better work opportunities. And what we are seeing today is the third wave of migration, where super rich of India are migrating to other countries. They are taking their wealth out of India to these offshore destinations. So, what is the reason behind this phenomena? We will be taking a look at those reasons. First reason which comes to mind is crony capitalism. Crony capitalism is a system where businesses profit out of close connections with politicians and bureaucrats. So, due to close political connections, certain businesses are able to profit. They are able to secure monetizable gains out of those connections, and they are able to edge their competitors out of the business. This system is killing business growth in India. I'll explain to you why this system is killing business growth in India. First reason is that it totally destroys the level playing field. Every businessman needs a level playing field in which it is at par with the other businessman. And when that level playing field is destroyed due to crony capitalism, the businessman who gets the favor of politicians and bureaucrats, they are able to thrive in this system. And the rest of the businessmen, they have no other choice except to put down their shutters and move to other destinations. So this is one reasons. Then, due to these close political connections, these businessmen are able to gain an edge over their competitors. Since state is using its machinery to favor these businessmen, then these businessmen, with the help of the state machinery, are able to gain certain privileges and concessions, or should I say all types of privileges and concessions. So they are able to get a competitive edge over their competitors. And also, these businessmen, then they ask their political masters to simply oust their competitors out of the business. So their competitors have to face all sorts of harassment from law enforcement agencies like CBI, Enforcement Directorate, income tax department and whatnot. So when faced with the stark reality that they will be harassed, and also with the fact that there is no level playing field in the country, these businessmen have no other option but to leave the country. So only those businessmen who are able to get close political connections with the ruling establishment and with the bureaucrats, they are able to survive in this system, and rest of the businessmen have no other option but to put down their shutters and move to other countries. This crony capitalism is absolutely destroying the business growth in India. It is destroying the number of companies which are able to stand on their own. So we are seeing the ever decreasing number. Earlier it was very reasonable, but now more and more companies are falling prey to this system, and they are moving to other destinations and other countries just to survive. No growth is possible in this type of system. Now, second reason is distrust in the system. Why there is distrust in the system? We all know that the government has the legislative power, that is the power to make rules and regulations for all of us. So government also has the power to make rules and regulations for businessmen in India, for corporates in India. But are these rules and regulations inviolable? Does these rules and regulations stand the truth of time? Does these rules and regulations stand the test of time? The answer is no. Why this is happening? This is happening because of the government's inability to stay true to its own rules and regulations. What is happening in India is that government is making these rules and regulations, but they are not standing by these rules and regulations. It's just a matter of convenience for them. So when these rules and regulations are in the favor of the government, they stand by those rules and regulations and they strictly enforce it. But when the things does not go in favor of the government, or when the things go in other way, the government simply flouts these rules and regulations themselves. Government does not care for these rules and regulations. They no longer care for these rules and regulations. So it's just a matter of convenience for them. When it's there, when these rules are in their favor, they obey those rules. When it's the other way around, they simply refuse to obey those rules, or maybe even change it. They are able to even change these rules and regulations. So what is happening in the system is that nobody is sure as to what are the rules and regulations which will prevail, which will stand the test of time. So what is happening in India is there is a distrust in the system, and this distrust in the system is increasing day by day, because the government is not staying true to its words. Government is not staying true to its own laws, rules and regulations, and they are just using it for namesake. So when this type of system prevails, there is a deep distrust in the system, and most of the businessmen does not like to operate in this type of system, so they go to other countries. Now, why this distrust is increasing day by day? What is happening? And businesses only thrive when businessmen are clear about the rules and regulations, and they are sure that these rules and regulations will be obeyed by them and by the government, whatever may be the circumstances. So when that type of system is there, businessmen are sure about the thing that even if something goes wrong, these rules and regulations are there and the government will abide by those rules and regulations. But this is not happening in India. Government is even changing those rules and regulations to suit its own convenience. Right after independence, no government ever abide by its rules and regulations in India. They always change it to suit their convenience. And in this system, distrust prevails and businesses don't thrive. On the other hand, the courts have a constitutional duty to uphold the rule of law. That is, they are under a constitutional and a legal duty to uphold these rules and regulations. But what the courts are doing is that they are merely doing lip service to these rules and regulations. So basically, they are acting as agencies or instruments of the government, and they are not protecting the interest of private individuals, most of whom are businessmen or corporates. So in this system where no one is there to protect them, what choice does businessmen in India have except to leave the country and move to other destinations? Now the third reason is a very high cost of setting up business in India. What is happening in India that there is widespread corruption. So there are usual costs of setting up a business, like setting up plants, machinery, erecting buildings, spending in advertisement of the business. All these things are the usual cost of the business. But in India, apart from the usual cost of setting up a business, most of the businessmen have to pay very heavy kickbacks or very heavy amounts to politicians and bureaucrats before starting a business. These kickbacks have to be paid if these businessmen want to start a business in India. This is one of, should I say, a condition before starting a business which they have to fulfill. So this increases the cost of setting up a business in India manifold. And plus, any businessman before starting out a business is not sure about how much profits will he be able to earn out of those business. So in this unsure environment, no businessman likes to spend a hefty amount before starting a business. So this fact, these kickbacks and these amounts which they have to pay to politicians and bureaucrats before starting a business, they are acting as an hindrance. And most of the businessmen does not like to operate in this type of atmosphere, so they move to other countries. And what is happening in other countries is a far cry from what is happening in India. Most of the countries around the world are giving investment-based visas to many individuals, including Indians. Many countries like Canada, Australia, Portugal are offering investment-based visas to Indians. So that is the reason that UAE attracted the highest number of high net worth value individuals from other countries. If we look at the scenario which is prevailing in Dubai, Dubai is offering golden visas to individuals who have an annual turnover of 2.1 crore rupees minimum and who wants to set up a business in Dubai. So many of the countries, including Dubai, are offering investment based opportunities to other individuals from other countries, including Indians. And these lucrative investment-based opportunities are also the reason that many of the Indians are moving their wealth to other countries. If we look at the fact, we will find an ever-increasing trend regarding the investment which Indians have made in the real estate market in Dubai. So, the investment of Indians in the real estate market in Dubai has considerably increased since last 5 years. And furthermore, In Dubai, there is no capital gains tax on the sale of property, and there are minimal taxes, especially on the sale and purchase of property. There are no taxes, and therefore setting up a business there is comparatively easy compared to India, where a businessman, apart from paying bribes to politicians and bureaucrats, also have to pay all sorts of taxes and other things. He also has to bear all sorts of things. So it puts an enormous burden on his pocket, and he's not sure about the profits also. So why would he start setting up a business in India? And there is no reason for that. Either we have to improve the atmosphere which is prevailing in India, or there is no other choice for the businessman except to move to other countries. And that is what is happening these days. Moving to other countries and setting up a business there is comparatively easy as if we compare it to India. Many countries, including European countries like Netherlands, Germany, UK, they are all encouraging investors to come from other countries to them. They are encouraging investors and entrepreneurs to shift bases there by offering lucrative tax benefits and other like benefits to these individuals. So most of the businessmen from India are migrating to these countries. And despite all the nationalistic fervor which we are seeing these days, many of the Indians are migrating to these countries, and this is a fact which we cannot deny. Now, the fourth reason which is responsible for this migration is the existence of tax havens where no questions are asked. There are many countries in the world where businessmen can take their wealth, and after payment of one-time entry fee, they are able to stash their wealth in those countries. They are able to purchase properties and live like citizens in those countries. So it is a single window for them where after payment of one-time fee, they will be able to get a foothold in that country, and they will be able to secure their wealth in that country. So these type of tax havens exist in the world. Especially I will name UK. UK is one of the most favored tax havens as far as the Indians are concerned. Many of the Indians have taken their wealth from India to UK and are permanently residing there. What is happening when they take their money to these tax havens? This money is hidden through layering, and this money is protected by the use of the shell companies. The shell companies are created and to hide this money basically, and then this money becomes absolutely untraceable, absolutely unreachable. So what is happening in India is that the tax regime is very strict. All sorts of checks and verifications are there. Many questions are being put up to these businessmen. And even if all this paperwork and verifications is just for the namesake, no businessman likes to get exposed. So what is happening is that these businessmen are going to these tax haven countries, and after payment of one-time entry fee, they are able to consolidate their wealth. They are able to stash their wealth in these countries, and it basically means flight of capital from India. So capital is moving from India to these countries, and we are getting poorer, and these countries, without doing anything, they are getting richer. So what is happening is that in these countries, in these tax haven countries, no questions are being asked. You just pay a one-time entry fee, and thereafter no questions are being asked to these individuals from where they have earned all this money and why they are keeping it there. No questions absolutely are asked, and so it makes it very lucrative for these businessmen to go to those countries and keep their wealth there. look at the trend, how many Indians are going to Europe, America, and more particularly even to countries like UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. Many of the Indians are going to these countries. The fifth reason is the growth of private equity and availability of enormous capital for investors. Private equity, which was once a fraction of the total equity in the earlier era, has now grown considerably, and many of the Indians have invested heavily in private equities in offshore destinations like US and UK. So after making such an investment, they have no other choice but to shift bases there. Moreover, they are also looking for potential investors for their businesses, and they are sure that they are able to get capital for their businesses. They are able to get potential investors for their businesses in those countries. So it's more profitable for them to shift bases to those countries, and since they have already made an enormous investment in those countries in private equity, it is always better for them to move to those countries. So both these reasons, coupled with the fact that there is comfortable life in Western countries and better educational and work opportunities for their children. So these are the reasons which are behind the fact that many of the Indians are taking their wealth out of India to these countries. Now the sixth reason is a very important reason as far as the migration of Indians to other countries are concerned. This reason is that in India, corporates and political parties have a close connection. What is happening in India is that these political parties, they are able to maintain close connection with 2-3 big corporate families, and these big corporate families makes massive donations to these political parties. Out of these donations, these political parties are able to give freebies to the poor in India, and thus they are able to get their votes in return. And these big corporate families gets all sorts of concessions, privileges, and contracts. They are able to operate their business freely in India, and they are able to simply oust their competitors out of the market. So this is what is happening in India, is that because of close political alliance between corporates and political parties, a lot of businessmen are shifting bases to other countries. What is happening in India is that the state is using its machinery to house these corporates. What is operating in India is that 2-3 corporate families are able to maintain close relationships with political parties, and in return, political and ruling establishment in India is using its state machinery to hound the competitors of these corporates. They are harassing the competitors of these corporates, the other corporates, and they are using state machinery agencies like CBI, Enforcement Directorate, Income Tax to harass these corporates. And these corporates have no other option but to go to other destinations where they will be more safe. And what is this attitude is also the reason that many corporates are moving to greener pastures. The truth is that everyone, including corporates, wants a level playing field. And when that level playing field does not exist, these corporates are quick to shift bases to other countries. The seventh reason is the corrupt and inefficient legal system in India. Our judicial system is at best can be termed as weak and inefficient. What is happening is these corporates, these businessmen believe that if something goes wrong, there is no one to protect them. If they lose the favor of the government, they are at a loss everywhere. They will not be able to get these contracts and permissions and benefits. And secondly, they will also face harassment from state agencies. So they believe that it's better to shift bases to other countries where there is a robust legal and judicial system. So if something goes wrong, this legal and judicial system will protect these businessmen. So no businessman likes to operate in a country where there is a weak legal and judicial system and there is widespread corruption in the system. So what is happening in India, that due to weak legal and judicial system, these corporates believe that if they lost the favor of the government, there is no one in the country which is going to protect them. So they believe that it's better to move to those countries where the legal and judicial system will come to their aid if something goes wrong. So this is also one of the main reasons that why many of the Indians are shifting bases to other countries where the legal and judicial system is more robust, more strong, and fundamental freedoms are secured. This is also one of the main reasons. In India, we are seeing that the judicial system is not able to secure the fundamental freedoms of the citizens. At best, they are acting as agencies or instruments of the government. So in a system where fundamental freedoms are not secured, businessmen have no other choice but to leave the country and move to countries where their fundamental freedoms are secured, where they are able to operate freely, where they are able to operate their business in a more fair manner. So these are the reasons which are behind the fact that many of the Indians are moving their wealth to other countries. If you liked our video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.